The Art of Possibility by Rosamund Zander and Benjamin Zander. So Roz, as she goes by in the book, is a family therapist, and Benjamin is the conductor of the Philharmonic Orchestra for the youth. And he's also a professor at the New England Conservatory of Music. So these two are, I should say Roz is also a landscape painter. They are so like artistic to the core that it's not even funny, but somehow they managed to bring that like art and that like passion for finite detail and like the intricacies of their professions and their passions into the book, which made it a fascinating read. I loved it. Absolutely loved this book, The Art of Possibility. And literally these two just live like in their passion, and it was inspiring to sort of to see that. Now a lot of people write about, you know, live your passion and be your truest self and all this stuff, but somehow these people like brought it out in the words of this book. And a lot of their chapters are like the same basic idea in, you know, in its core of so many other personal development books or speakers, right? Just like topics of like, be yourself, like embrace your uniqueness, live in your passion, pursue the goals that are yours, and don't fret about what others are thinking or doing or where they're going, and find your people. And you know, and yet they have a completely different spin on it, a different language around it, and they call it they named each of them different things. So I'm just gonna, let me get to the table of contents and just give you a little bit of it, what it says. So it's all invented. Basically, that's the first chapter, and they're talking about like the way our brain is wired to perceive the world, and essentially like we take a little bit of information to like prove to ourselves that what we already think is true, right? And so it's all invented, and they go into some scientific studies that show like what we think we know is only what we know for now, and then we'll come up with something new, right? And it's all invented. Like what is considered fact today might not be fact tomorrow, and then we'll have a new fact. And so you might as well create your own universe around yourself for what you want and what you desire and what you're shooting for. Stepping into a universe of possibility. And that like catches the main idea of this book, or the way that these two people are, Roz and Benjamin. They seriously just stepped into this world of possibility, and they make the best of it, and they inspire people, and they connect with people, and they're just completely, I mean, obviously they're not oblivious to the outside world, but it sure feels that way reading their experiences, right? Obviously you take a long life, put it into a book, and it seems like they never had any problems. But anyway, giving an A, I liked that. They give people an A, and I'm going to get into some of these things, but remember that one, giving an A, being a contribution, leading from any chair. They have one called Rule Number 6. And then the way things are, giving way to passion, lighting a spark. So anyway, things you've heard before, but it's a different spin, a new twist. I'll read a few of them. And literally, I picked like a few quotes to read in the first like 50 pages. I didn't even go further than that because I don't want to spend like an hour on this video, but such a good book. So it's all invented. What we mean is, it's all invented anyway, so we might as well invent a story or a framework of meaning that enhances our quality of life and the life of those around us. Later on, he says that is, let's see, however, the term "it's all invented" points to the more fundamental notion, that is, through the evolved structure of the brain that we perceive the world, and the mind constructs. The meaning our minds construct may be widely shared and sustained for us, but they may have little to do with the world itself. Furthermore, how would we know? So you might as well go for what you believe in and what you like and what you desire, because for all we know, it might be the most true thing, the most honest, sincere, and best path for you, right? Later on, he says, in a universal possibility stretches beyond the world of measurement to include all worlds, infinite, generative, and abundant. Literally, the world is full of possibility and like opportunity, and there is no way you can restrict it, right? At one point in this book, he had his kids write letters to NASA, and essentially they wrote letters of like, thank you for pushing the envelope, for looking for new discovery, for spending your entire life looking to go out to a new place and break the box we call Earth, and find some small new discovery, which would be like, that's all they need to thrive, right? And these astronauts were so inspired by those letters that they actually ended up sending the letters on a CD-ROM into space and things. But basically, think of that. Like we judge everything by the world around us. I talk about this a lot. Like the culture you grew up in is so ingrained and so deep that you are judged by that, and you judge the world by that. But what if your culture has some things that are inconsistent with the actual world, or the facts, or the what we now know to be true, right? How are my thoughts and actions in this moment reflections of the measurement world? Think about that. Like we try to structure a job or a career or a passion or a sport around like very specific rules and think that we're going to be judged by that. But when you break the rules and go out, like look at Elon Musk. That's a dude that doesn't even care about boundaries. Like he's like, well, I wanted to go to space. Well, what qualifies you to go to space? I read a lot of books. That was his answer. He's not an astronaut. He didn't go to work for NASA or go to school for this. He read a lot of books, so he started SpaceX. What the? Like, he wants to, like the crazy, he solves the biggest problems and he acts like nothing is in the way. And it's true, he's making it happen. It's crazy. In fact, recently he said he could fix Puerto Rico's power problems with his solar power company. They've restructured other islands. Puerto Rico's bigger, but he said it's a scalable thing, so it wouldn't be any problem. And so now they're working on it. We'll see what happens there. Let's see. He says, my teacher, the great cellist Gaspar Casado, used to say to us as students, I'm so sorry for you. Your lives have been so easy. You can't play great music unless your heart's been broken. So I play the guitar and kind of learn the piano and violin right now. And so I somewhat understand some of the things he's talking about, but he's so like, he spent his entire life in music, right? And he's just like, he brings a lot of that experience into this book and ways he helped change a student's passion or whatever for music, the way it's portrayed, right? But you can't play great music unless your heart's been broken. Like I always say, you don't want the journey to be easy. Like you want experience, you want growth, you want character, like you want the things that come from the journey. And the easy journey is not where character is built. That's not where heroes are made. That's not where leaders develop. Like you want the journey, and you want some difficulty, you want some peaks, you want some valleys, you want some plateaus, like you want it all. And in music, right, we're so about like timing, right? You want this perfect timing so that nothing is off. You don't want it off pitch and you don't want it out of time, right? Well, he kind of alludes to these ideas a lot in music, that like that's the basics of music. But when you're going to really actually put some passion into it, the timing changes through the song. So all of a sudden we spend our whole lives trying to get on perfect timing, and then we're going to go off timing to actually put passion into the song. And that reflects the true emotion of life, right? Most songs are written about a life process or something, and so it's like sometimes you just have so much momentum, and then sometimes you hit a wall, and then you stop and you slow down, and it's sad and it's hard, and then you get back up, and right. And so like in order to portray that through a song, especially in like with a symphony, there's no lyrics, so you're trying to really bring out emotion in a song. You have to go through that, right? And he's taught his teachers like, your heart's never been broken, so you can't feel the real passion of this song, right? And the same is true for every setting in life, whether it's music or your job or your relationship or whatever. You can't have great empathy for another person in communication if you've never had your heart broken, if you've never struggled, if you've never been broke, if you've never, right? Like, but if you've gone through these things, now you can connect with people, and you can make relationships and make their lives better because you understand what's going on and what they're going through and stuff. So don't look for just easy. Like, be grateful for every experience, right? Like, obviously we're not looking for heartbreak, but if your heart's been broken, I mean, be grateful that you now have wisdom through that, and a new ability and a new skill and a mindset that you can reach to when needed. You can draw on those things. When he retired from the Supreme Court Justice, Thurgood Marshall was asked of what accomplishment he was most proud of. He answered simply that I did the best I could with what I had. Could there be any greater acknowledgement? A while back, I was listening to some podcasts about, building a business and things, and it was basically just like, start with what you have. Like, don't wait for new resources. Take what you have right now and do the best you can. Actually, it's Pat Flynn is one of the ones that really harps on this idea. Like, take whatever assets you have, turn those into a funnel for people to go down and learn information and glean what you've got. And as you grow that, you'll come up with products to sell, and you take what you've got, you give it to others, you provide this service and ideas and thought patterns, and you turn that into business. It turns into money, it turns into connections, it turns into everything. So like, do the best right now with whatever you have. Don't wait for more opportunities. Like, anyone that's ever started a YouTube channel, well, maybe not anyone, but a lot of people that start YouTube channels and became somebody started like in their bedroom, and they started on an iPhone. They started with a dumpy camera, and some of them just keep growing until they've got camera people behind expensive cameras. Like, look at Dude Perfect, for example. Some of their early videos are hilarious. They got like the low budget helmet cam where they basically taped a cheap camera on top of like a bike helmet or whatever. Now Dude Perfect, they make millions of dollars, and they have cameramen that they pay, and an entire warehouse where they can just go in there and play and be goofballs, and they make money from it. Like, start with what you've got. What you got might just be a personality, not even assets as far as a physical world, right? Jumping in the middle of things, he says, he knew me exactly the way I could have wanted to be known. It works that way. As soon as you have the grace to give people A's, all sorts of things are revealed that were as though hidden behind the veil. Letters pop out, memories return. There are new openings. When the relationship itself is no longer in question, we can ask ourselves, what now do we want to create? So remember I said giving an A. He in his classroom, he just gives everyone an A, but his request is that they write a letter and say, I got an A, or I earned my A because of this. And they have to explain how they changed and how they grew and what they got from the class that gave them the A. Now they write this letter at the first of the semester, so it's a different way of setting a goal for yourself, a way of opening up, right? Where in music and art, it's very much about showing your emotions through some new venue or avenue. And so he has them write this letter about giving they earned their A for this. It's a really interesting way of setting a goal for yourself to open up and become open to new ideas, new structures, new methods. And so It's very interesting, but from that, there are new openings. When the relationship itself is no longer in question, we ask ourselves, what now do we want to create? Like, think of your marriage, your relationship, your friends. Like, if you're just going to give your spouse an A, like they get an A already, how does that affect me? You know, it's not necessarily like I get an A, so now what? That's one angle to look at it. But what if you just would give your spouse an A? He was able to connect deeper with his students and find out more about their goals and passions and dreams through that method than through having a strict, you know, the music world in general, when you get to high levels of music, super competitive, and it's a really cutthroat environment. And conductors and things are very like, they demand perfection or else. And so he kind of went at this new angle with it, and it worked out magnificently for him to give an A and then, you know, speak to people's passions and work towards their goals and things. So very interesting. Last thing I'll read, he says, when I began playing the game of contribution, on the other hand, I found there was no better orchestra than the one I was conducting, no better person to be with than the one I was with. In fact, there was no better. In the game of contribution, you wake up each day and bask in the emotion that you are a gift to the others. So, like you've heard, you know, contribute. Like I've heard millionaires say, like, I don't know why, but if you give your money away, somehow it turns into more money. You get more back. Karma brings it back or whatever. And, you know, contribute. That's the purpose of life, is if you gain something, give back, contribute. Well, his perspective on that, his take on that is like, the world becomes like the best it could possibly be, because what else would I want to contribute to other than what I have to contribute to right now? The people around me, the community I live in, the world I live in, like, how can I contribute? And every day I wake up with this like new beginning on how can I change for the better the things and people around me. It's a beautiful life philosophy, and it's a good way to go about life. These principles that he teaches in here has taken him to countries all over the world. He's played with the best musicians in the world. He speaks to CEOs and companies of the biggest ones in the world. He's just done so much. And then Roz, as she brings her spin into it through the family therapy spin, just interesting ways to communicate to people, and how to change the way we think about certain ideas, or how we communicate certain ideas. And she's brilliant in her own sense. I personally, I love music and I play music, and then my wife is studying to be a therapist as well, and we've gone to some therapy together, and I think it's a way of challenging a person's current culture. Not that your culture is bad, but you need to challenge and get new ideas and new perspective. And therapy is a brilliant way of doing that, especially if your therapist is really experienced and good at that, because they can really just basically in a very kind way play devil's advocate about whatever it is whatever rut you're in or mindset you have. And so it's an interesting way to get new perspective on life. So I appreciated both of them in this book. Very interesting people, an artistic yet like great self-help book, and I found it very, very inspiring. So The Art of Possibility, Transforming Professional and Personal Life. Very good book. I'll put a link below so you can purchase from Amazon. When you do that, I get a small commission at no extra charge to you. Head over to bronsonwilkes.com and check out the other books that we have on there and book reviews. Subscribe to this channel for more book reviews weekly, and we'll see y'all soon. Thanks.